My name is Serena Marsh, and I'm 36 years old. I've been saving for 3 years for this. Not vacations, not new furniture, not even the kitchen renovation my husband Grant kept hinting at. Every spare dollar from my Army salary and my side consulting work went into a separate account labeled in my banking app simply, Mom and Dad. My parents had been married for 50 years come October, and they'd spent almost all of them in a cramped two-bedroom rental 40 minutes from the coast. The same coast my father used to drive us to every summer when I was a kid. Parking the car a half-mile away because we couldn't afford the beachfront lots, walking the rest of the way just so we could smell the salt air for an afternoon. My father, Walter, worked 31 years at a freight yard. The kind of job that wears down a man's knees and his patience in equal measure, but never once made him bitter. My mother, Linda, raised me, my brother, and for a stretch of 4 years my grandmother too, all in that same small house, stretching grocery budgets, never complaining where we could hear her. They gave everything to us. They never once in 50 years gave anything extravagant to themselves. If you truly love your mother and want to make your wife or girlfriend happy, then do one thing, for her happiness, for her health. Subscribe to this channel right now. Also turn on the bell icon so that every new video reaches you first. If you're hearing my sweet voice for the first time, then press the subscribe button wholeheartedly, Babu. I am your sweetie G, your warm and emotional health expert. Now please write Jai Mata Di in the comments and tell me your name and city. Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai. Where are you from, my dear? I love it when you tell me your name and city. Welcome back to Drama Tales Daily, where the love you give your parents finally comes home. If this story is pulling at your heart already, stay with me. Drop Jai Mata Di in the comments and tell me your city. Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai. Where are you from, my dear? I love it when you tell me your name and city. So when I found a property listing 8 months ago, a 4-bedroom home with a wraparound porch, 200 feet from the shoreline, listed at $425,000, I didn't think twice. I drained the account, took a loan against my pension contributions, and closed on it without telling a single soul outside of my brother, who helped me coordinate logistics from 3 states away. The plan was simple. Their 50th anniversary fell on a Saturday. I requested leave from my post, flew in 2 days early, and arranged for my parents to be brought to the new house under the pretense of checking out a property for a friend of mine. I'd hired a small catering team, hung string lights along that porch, and filled the dining room with photos spanning 5 decades of their marriage. My husband Grant flew in separately to help set everything up, since his unit gave him a long weekend. And his parents, Vivian and Walter Holloway, offered almost too eagerly to handle setup and decorations, while I picked up my own parents from the airport hotel where they were staying. That detail, in hindsight, should have told me everything. I want to be clear about something before I go further. I have never had an easy relationship with my mother-in-law. Vivian Holloway is the kind of woman who compliments you and somehow makes it sound like an insult in the same breath. She'd made comments before about Grant marrying beneath his potential, about how my Army career meant I was never really home to build a proper household, about how my parents, in her words, didn't exactly come from anywhere impressive. I'd absorbed those comments for 6 years of marriage because Grant always promised he'd talk to her. And because I genuinely believed, foolishly maybe, that buying my own parents a home with my own money had nothing to do with the Holloways at all. I was wrong. I picked up my parents that Saturday afternoon, my mother in her good blue dress, my father in the suit he'd worn to my brother's wedding 12 years earlier, both of them believing they were simply tagging along to see a potential investment property. The drive to the coast took 40 minutes, and the entire time, my mother held my hand in the back seat, asking questions about the house, about the area, completely unaware that in a few minutes she'd be standing in her own living room. When we pulled into the driveway, I saw immediately that something was wrong. The string lights I'd hung myself 2 days earlier had been taken down. The porch, which should have had welcome banners and the framed photo collage I'd spent a week assembling, was bare except for a folding table covered in unfamiliar serving dishes that weren't part of my catering order. And standing in the open doorway, gripping the frame like she owned every plank of it, was Vivian. My mother stepped out of the car first, smiling, still thinking this was just a tour. She made it 3 steps onto the walkway before Vivian descended the porch stairs, jabbed a finger toward the street, and shouted loud enough for the neighbors 2 lots over to hear. "This is our house! Get out!" My mother froze mid-step. My father, who has never raised his voice in his life, started visibly trembling, his hand reaching for my mother's shoulder like he needed to shield her from something he didn't understand. My mother's eyes welled up immediately, confusion and humiliation crashing into each other on her face all at once. Because as far as she knew, she'd just been screamed off the porch of a stranger's home in front of her own daughter. Behind Vivian, I caught a glimpse of my father-in-law, Walter, standing stiffly near the door. And further inside, shapes moving through what was supposed to be my parents' new dining room. Furniture that wasn't mine. Boxes that weren't mine. A life being unpacked into a house that had never belonged to anyone but the 2 people now standing frozen and humiliated on the front walk. I hadn't said a single word yet. I was still standing by the car door, keys in hand, watching my mother's hands shake and my father's jaw tighten in a way I'd only seen once before, the day he buried his own father. That's when I walked in, and silence fell. Babu, if your heart is pounding right now, drop Jai Mata Di in the comments and tell me your name and city. Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai. Where are you from, my dear? I love it when you tell me your name and city. Drama Tales Daily, where mothers finally get what they deserve. Stay with me. Vivian turned at the sound of my footsteps, and for a half second before she composed herself, I saw something flicker across her face that confirmed every suspicion I'd been pushing away for years. It wasn't surprise. It was the look of someone caught mid-sentence, not mid-discovery. "Serena," she said, smoothing the front of her blouse like she was preparing to greet a guest at her own dinner party, instead of standing in the middle of a scene she just created. "This isn't what it looks like." "Then tell me what it looks like," I said, keeping my voice level. The same tone I use when a soldier under my command is about to learn that excuses don't change outcomes. "Because right now it looks like you just screamed at my mother on the porch of a house she's never set foot in before." My father-in-law appeared behind her in the doorway, and for the first time since I'd known him, he looked like a man who wished the floor would simply open beneath him. He didn't speak. He just stood there, hands jammed into his pockets, eyes fixed somewhere over my shoulder. Vivian recovered quickly, the way she always did. "Walter and Grant's father discussed this house weeks ago," she said, gesturing vaguely toward the inside as if that explained anything. "We assumed, given the location, given everything Grant's told us about wanting a place near the water eventually, that this was meant to be an investment for the family. We simply started moving a few things in to help get it ready." I let that sit in the air for a moment, because I wanted everyone present, including my own parents, to fully absorb the absurdity of it. "You assumed a house I purchased with my own money, that I never once mentioned to you, was somehow yours to move furniture into?" Grant didn't say anything, came a voice from behind me, and I turned to see my husband walking up the driveway, having just parked the second car loaded with the last of the catering supplies. His face had gone pale. His eyes moved from his mother to the unfamiliar boxes stacked just inside the doorway, and then to my mother, who was still standing frozen on the walkway, silent tears running down her face. My father's arm now fully wrapped around her shoulders. "Grant, sweetheart, we were only trying to help," Vivian started. But he held up a hand, and I watched something shift in him that I'd been waiting 6 years to see. "Mom," he said, "whose name is on this deed?" She didn't answer. "Whose name, Mom?" "Serena's," she finally said, quieter now. "Then it's not a family investment. It's my wife's gift to her parents, and you had no right to touch a single box in this house, let alone scream at her mother on the front steps." He turned to his father, who still hadn't said a word. "Dad, did you know about this?" His father nodded slowly, ashamed. And that single nod told me this hadn't been some spontaneous miscommunication. This had been planned quietly over weeks. The assumption that because Grant and I were married, anything I built or bought eventually belonged to the Holloway family ledger. It wasn't really about the house. It had never been about the house. It was about a pattern Vivian had been trying to establish since the day Grant introduced us. The same pattern she'd used to dismiss my parents as not coming from anywhere impressive. The same quiet erosion she'd been attempting for 6 years. Except this time she'd tried to erase my parents from a home with their own names already filed on the paperwork. I walked past Vivian into the house, and one by one, I started carrying the unfamiliar boxes back out onto the porch. Nobody stopped me. Grant joined in without a word, carrying out a lamp that wasn't mine, a set of dishes that wasn't mine, 2 folding chairs that had replaced my catering tables. His father followed, silently, helping load it all into their car, his face tight with an embarrassment that for once looked genuine. Vivian stood on the porch for a long moment, watching her son carry her belongings out of a house she'd tried to claim. And when she finally spoke, her voice had lost all its earlier confidence. "I only wanted to make sure our family had something solid for the future." "This was never your future to plan," I told her. "It was a gift from a daughter to her parents. For 50 years of marriage that none of us are entitled to take credit for." Babu, if you're proud of Serena right now, drop Jai Mata Di in the comments and tell me your name and city. Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai. Where are you from, my dear? Your sweetie G loves hearing from you. Drama Tales Daily, where daughters become warriors for their parents. They left 20 minutes later, and the silence they left behind was nothing like the silence that had fallen when I first walked up that driveway. This silence was clean. My mother was still shaking, but my father had stopped trembling, and slowly, as the last car pulled out of the driveway, the tension in his shoulders began to ease. We spent the rest of that evening doing what I'd actually planned from the start. I rehung the string lights myself. Grant helped me reset the photo collage that had been knocked sideways during the chaos. And by sunset, my parents were sitting on their own porch, 200 feet from the water they'd driven hours to glimpse for one afternoon every summer of my childhood. Finally home for good. My mother cried again that night, but this time it was the kind of crying that comes from relief, not fear. My father stood at the porch railing for a long time, just looking at the water, not saying much. The way he's always processed the things that matter most. 50 years of sacrifice, finally repaid in full, in a house no one could take from them again. If this story moved you, if you truly love your mother and want to make your wife or girlfriend happy, then do one thing. For her happiness, for her health, subscribe to this channel right now. Also turn on the bell icon so that every new video reaches you first. If you're hearing my sweet voice for the first time, then press the subscribe button wholeheartedly, Babu. I am your sweetie G, your warm and emotional health expert. Now please write Jai Mata Di in the comments and tell me your name and city. Pune, Nagpur, Surat, Bhopal, Chandigarh, Delhi, Mumbai. Where are you from, my dear? I love it when you tell me your name and city. This is Drama Tales Daily. See you in the next story, Babu.